What are we doing today, babe?
Wedding venue shopping! I'm so excited. Hey guys, what's up and welcome back to my channel. This is a very exciting week for my fiance Joe and I because we are wedding venue shopping. We have been engaged for a little over a year now. It's hard to believe that it's been that long already, but we were stuck in a crossroad because we didn't know whether we wanted to have our wedding where majority of our family lives over on the East Coast, or if we wanted to have it here where we live in Arizona, where we know we have amazing scenic views and majority of our friends and coworkers live. So we went back and forth on the two over the year. We toured some venues in New Jersey and in Pennsylvania, but we didn't really find anything that was in our budget and fit what we envisioned for our big day. So just recently, we have started to look at venues here in Arizona. Over the course of this week, I'm going to take you guys along with me as we tour those venues, and then I will reveal what venue we chose and give you some wedding tips on how to choose the right venue. Let's go ahead and get started. Before we go, I wanted to show you my outfit of the day. My dress is from a little boutique downtown here in Tucson, and then my shoes are from Lucky Brand.
There's not much to do when all I can is thinking about you. Not doing well, don't know where you are, 'cause you're not here. It's been way too long. If I could lay down beside you, I would. When nothing really matters, that's all I wanna do. I hope that you are safe and that I will see you soon. If I could lay down beside you, I would. We talk on the phone every night. Love to hear your voice. Not sleeping well, and I know that you're right, but you should know it. You've been gone for way too long now. If I could lay down beside you, I would. When nothing really matters, that's all I wanna do. I hope that you are safe and that I will see you soon. If I could lay down beside you, I would. Even if you're gone, I won't forget you. You're all I know, what I need, and that ain't changing. And even if you're gone, I will remember. You're all I know, what I need, and that ain't changing. If I could lay down beside you, I would. When nothing really matters, that's all I wanna do. I hope that you are safe and that I will see you soon. If I could lay down beside you, I would. If I could lay down beside you, I would. When nothing really matters, that's all I wanna do. I hope that you are safe and that I will see you soon. If I could lay down beside you, I would.
Okay, so now it is time for you and your partner to start venue shopping. This part of the wedding planning is super exciting because it really is the mold for how the rest of your wedding planning is going to go. So this is the second step to the wedding planning process. So first you made your budget. Now you are going to start looking at venues that fit your budget. For venues, I would say to stick to about 50% of your budget going towards your venue. Most venues include bar service, alcohol, catering. I know 50% sounds like a lot, but a lot is usually included with your venue depending on what you are looking at. So when you are starting to look at venues, the first thing you need to figure out is where you are going to have your wedding. Now you can look at your guest list and see where majority of your wedding guests are going to be coming from. So let's say 75% of your guests are on the East Coast in Pennsylvania and 25% are your coworkers and friends that live in Arizona. If majority of your wedding guests live on the East Coast in Pennsylvania, you might want to consider having a destination wedding and having it over in Pennsylvania where majority of your wedding guests are and majority of them are going to be able to come for your big day. But let's say your wedding guest list is split in half. 50% of your family lives on the East Coast and 50% of your friends and coworkers live there in Arizona where you live. You might want to consider having it in Arizona and just asking your family if they wouldn't mind traveling. I feel like you want to make your wedding planning process as easy and simple as possible. So if that means having it where you live, then don't feel guilty about doing that. That is something Joe and I constantly went back and forth with. We wanted to be accommodating for our family and we really didn't want to make our family travel if we didn't have to, but we weren't loving any of the venues and none of them really reflected what we wanted for our big day. So then we started looking here in Arizona and ended up finding a lot that we liked here. So we went ahead and booked it here and just made sure that our family did not mind, which majority of your guests will not mind traveling for your wedding as long as they are given enough time. So now that you figured out where you want to have your wedding, now you want to figure out the when. Now this is really going to factor how much your wedding venue is going to cost depending on what day of the week you have it on and what time of year you want to have it on. Peak time to have your wedding is on a weekend, obviously. Everyone wants to have their wedding on a weekend, and in the spring and summer seasons. Those days and times of years tend to be a few $1,000s more for your venue than they would for a fall or winter wedding on a weekday. So really take that into consideration. If your budget is smaller, I would try to stick with having your wedding on an off-peak season and maybe during a weekday if that's possible for you. But if you are having a lot of wedding guests travel to come to your wedding, you might want to have it on a weekend and just save up a few extra $1,000 so that your guests have time to travel to get there and they don't have to take off that many days from work. I would say to give your guests, as soon as you find the venue and you've booked it and you have your date, let your guests know right away, whether that's a year in advance or even 2 years in advance. It never hurts to give your guests more time to accommodate and save up so that they can be there on that big day. When you are scrolling online or on Instagram and you are trying to find your wedding venues, I would stick with no more than 5 wedding venues to go tour at a time. Otherwise, the wedding details of each venue can start to mesh together and the venues might start to look the same, and you really don't want to overwhelm yourself with this because it is such a big part of the wedding planning process. So now that you have your 5 venues, you want to reach out to all of them and ask them for wedding packages to make sure that you are sticking to your 50% of your overall wedding budget. I would ask for all the wedding packages before you start touring. That way you don't fall in love with a venue and go tour it and it's just not in your price range. So reach out to all of them, get their wedding packages, write down on a Google spreadsheet or a piece of paper what all is included in their wedding packages, how much everything is for approximately how many guests you're going to have and what day of the week you really want to have it on, and just make sure that it fits that 50% of your budget before you go. My 6th tip for you is when you are venue shopping, make sure that you are asking questions. I would make a general list of maybe 5 to 10 questions to ask each of those venues and make sure you stick to those 5 to 10 questions so you can compare them when it's time to sit down and figure out which venue you are choosing. My next tip I have for you is to make sure that the venue overall reflects you and your significant other. Whether that be that you guys like to be outdoors and you like to hike, maybe that's something you want to take into consideration for your venue. You could look for an outdoor ceremony spot that has a mountain or scenic view in the background to really represent that hobby for you and your person. To help you with this, you and your significant other can sit down and make a list of 5 things that represent you guys, whether that be that you like to be indoors and watch Netflix all day, or you like to be in the city and you like to go brewery hopping, or you like to hike and travel. So make sure that you really take what represents you and your significant other throughout the whole wedding planning process, not just venue shopping. And my last tip for you, after you've done all your venue tours, sit down with your person and create a pros and cons list for each venue. That will really help you cross out the venues that might have more cons than pros. After you've made your pros and cons list, now you want to cross out and get down to 2 venues that you and your fiance really enjoyed. Now this is going to be the harder part because your significant other might like one venue and you might like the other. I would make a list of 5 to 10 things that you envision for your big day that you really want the venue to have for you, and then see which venue gives you more things off of that list. That will really help you come down to the one venue that is in your budget that you and your significant other both love. So now that I've given you the tips and tricks, I'm going to reveal which venue Joe and I chose. We ended up choosing the Paseo. That is it for today's wedding series. I hope you guys enjoyed. Next week I will be giving you guys tips on creating a estimated guest list. I will be offering lots of tips and tricks that really help Joe and I come to a conclusion on who we envision being there for our big day. So stay tuned for that. Bye guys, I will see you in next week's vlog.